Sometimes when installing Puppet Producer or any Flash extension, really, um, you won't get a proper installation because the language that your program is installed in is different than the U.S. English language. I have had a couple of people contact me regarding this issue in relation to Puppet Producer. So what I'm going to do is I'm creating this video to demonstrate how to manually install Puppet Producer on your system whenever you're not able to get it properly installed by way of the automated means. So because there's only a small number of people that have reported this, exactly 2 people since the creation of this video that you're watching right now, I've gone ahead and created a separate manual installation archive of Puppet Producer, which is available. So if this does happen to you when you purchase it, just contact me via support at sinistartinteractive.com, and I'll send you a copy of the manual version of Puppet Producer so you can install it and just follow along this video. All right. So once you get your manual version of Puppet Producer, it's going to look like this, depending on the version number, P135 man for manual. So this is the latest version at the time of this video. It might be a different number whenever, if it happens to be you that you're watching this video because of this very same reason. So you're going to get the zip file. In my case, I use WinRAR as my default archive manager. Some people use WinZip, some people use 7-zip, and so on. So whatever means you need to use to extract that zip file, go ahead and do that now. It'll be different with whatever program you're using. So in this case, I've extracted this file directly on my machine simply by right-clicking and selecting Extract here. I could have also just double-clicked on it and grab those folders and move them out, like by dragging and dropping. So I could have also done that. So depending on the software that you're using, that particular operation might be different. So I'm not going to spend too much time on that because that's not what we're here for. So you'll notice that I managed to extract 2 folders, one called Components and one called Window SWF. The Components folder basically contains a raw Flash file. This is various graphical assets and components and, things that Puppet Producer is going to need in order to work properly. Without these files, the software is going to have bugs. So keep that in mind. If you install Puppet Producer and there's, just a lot of things that's not working properly, make sure that you actually put all these files in the proper place. It's easy to make that mistake when you're doing a manual installation. So in the Window SWF folder, we have Puppet Producer itself, which is basically a Flash-based panel. It doesn't really do anything outside of Flash, so it's just an old Flash file with generic stuff in there. Various extensions that go with it to make it work. And all of this stuff will come together inside of Flash itself. And keep in mind that when I say Flash, I also mean animate, okay? So regardless of what side you're on, Adobe's marketing stuff, you'll either be using something called Flash or something called animate. It's the same thing. Okay, so having said that, here's the 2 folders that we're going to need. Next, we're going to need to go into your file system. So you might be on a Windows machine, you might be on a Mac. The path is pretty similar. So I'm using a Windows machine. If you're using the Mac, then just use your own creative judgment as to how you approach the file path, okay? Because the file path is pretty much the same. Obviously, Mac and Windows use different, hard drive extension numbers, IDs, or whatever. So just make that appropriate adjustments. So here I'm going to my machine here, and I'm just going to go into the file system itself. All right. I'm not so much concerned with the way I got there. People have different ways of getting there. So I'm going to go into my C drive. See, C:/ I could have just typed that, and I'm looking for my users folder. It's right there. In in my users folder, you're gonna find various usernames, and this is where your user profiles are stored. In my case, I'm gonna be using this particular profile, the Ibis senior one. Double clicking to go in there, and notice that as I double click, you can see my path right here. Okay, so I could have easily just typed that in, and I am gonna have to type something in right now because the following folder after the username, okay, so which in your case, it's gonna be your own username. After the username, it's a backwards slash, and then the folder is called app data. Okay, it has a capital A, capital D. We're gonna hit enter, and you'll notice that you'll automatically go in there. You don't see it from here because it's invisible, but once you go inside of it, you're gonna see other folders. So it is part of that path. So C, users, username, app data, and inside of here, you're gonna see a folder called local. And inside of the local folder, you're gonna see the Adobe folder. So here, you're gonna see different Adobe software installation. As you can see, I have Adobe Animate CC 2015, 2015.2, 2017, Flash CS3, CS6. So it's important to note that Puppet Producer will work on any version of Flash as far back as CS3. I made sure I made this thing backward compatible as hell, all right? So regardless of which version of Flash you have, this thing is gonna work. So let's take a quick look at the latest version here, Animate CC 2017. We're gonna go into that one. Here we're gonna have a list of different languages. So in my case, I only have the English US version installed. So I'm gonna go in there. So if you have English UK installed or something else, then you might wanna go into that folder. Or, you know, German or whatever language you happen to use on your machine. So here we're gonna double click on English US, then the configuration folder. All right, so now we're looking at where we need to be. Let's go in here one more time, configuration. Now we have a bunch of folders. So, but you will notice that we have two familiar folders that we already talked about. Window SWF folder and the components folder. All right, so to make life easy, what we want to do is we're gonna just drag and drop these two folders into an empty space. Make sure you're not dropping them directly on top of one of these folders, because otherwise they're going to go in there and the file structure is not going to be maintained. You're still not going to be doing anything. So just drag and drop it in a way that it doesn't go on top of anything. All right, so just find an empty spot and just drop it in there. Since those folders already exist, it's going to ask you if you want to replace these files. Yeah. So all it does is take whatever's inside of these folders and merges them with whatever's inside of those other folders. So if we look in here now, this component, see, there you go, Puppet Producer, pivots, there you go. If we go back, if we go into the Window SWF folder, just to verify, you can see there's various things in there, including my various Puppet Producer extensions and Puppet Producer itself. Here I also have a copy of my Toon Titan panel installed as well. You can see that in there, and some other junk. So once this is installed, you are able to run Flash, or in this case, Adobe Animate CC 2017. We're going to give that a minute to load. All right, so we're going to give that a minute to load. Here it is. It loaded up on my second monitor. I'm just going to drag it down over here real quick. We're going to open up a new project. And it keeps opening up on my second monitor. We're always going to work on ActionScript 3 projects. So once we have our ActionScript 3 project put in, actually it doesn't really matter. I mean, it'll pull up either way as long as we're working inside of the program. Here's the extensions menu under the window menu. And there's Puppet Producer. And it opened up in my second monitor. So here it is. We'll close it so you can see it again. extensions. It'll open up in the last place where you had it. So there you have it. If you just happen to have a different version of Flash, of course, you know, it will still work. For example, if we go back to that Adobe folder, we're just going to remove it off that path and go back to there. We're going to Flash CS3. In CS3, it's simply labeled EN. Configuration, same thing. So here is your window SWF file. This one doesn't have a components folder, but that's okay. All we do is grab this, copy it, paste it, and now it's there, components and window SWF. So now we have Puppet Producer installed inside of Flash CS3. We want to install it in Flash CS6. You can see that the language for English is different. Again, so there's configuration, same thing. And technically you can install it this way in every version of Flash or Animate that you have, and it'll install. So feel free to install it in every version of Flash that you have, so that next time you open up Flash or Animate, regardless of what version it is, you can work with Puppet Producer.